Welcome to Paiwalla on the Murray River in South Australia, a 90-hectare reserve that used to be farmland that's been returned to a flooded conservation area with some really sensitive little species of animals that are being cared for by community management. But of course, anytime you try and return to the natural environment, you get challenges. Right here we've got a short-necked turtle's nest that's been predated, most likely by a fox, and the eggs scattered around on the ground. This happened only a couple of days ago, and today I'm investigating some really smart farming tech that's being used by these conservationists to care for sensitive habitat. Once again, farming coming to the rescue of the environment. So let's find out a little bit more about Paiwalla. Steve, how are you, mate?
Not bad, thanks. Good to see you.
Now this is a fascinating property, isn't it? I mean, it used to be wetlands originally and it was drained to create nice, verdant, lush, green pasture for dairy cows.
Yep. And then the levees were put in at the same time to keep the river away and the pastures so you could irrigate them. They were flood irrigated pastures.
So it got to the point where this dairy farm needed to be transitioned, and it was decided that there was an opportunity to turn it back into a valuable wetland on the banks of the Murray.
Yeah, that's what we decided. We thought we'd get some friends together who were prepared to buy the land off the farmer. We just thought we needed to get it back to what it was.
Now you've kept some of the original levee banks and some of the original structures so that you can better manage the wetland, is that correct?
Yeah, the levee banks are critical, so we can now control water in the pond and fill it and empty it at will.
You are facing a few challenges, and one of those challenges is with some turtle populations, Steve.
We have lots of turtles, 3 species, but we keep losing them to foxes and echidnas now, we've found.
G'day Annie, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Tim.
Annie, you've got some fascinating stories about turtles here. Now, I'm allowed to call them turtles, or should I be calling them tortoises?
All tortoises are turtles, so you can use the word turtles.
Okay, so I'm not doing the wrong thing.
No.
Fantastic. Now, you've got 3 different species of turtle here.
Yes, we've got the Murray shortneck, we've got the eastern longneck and the broadshell.
Now, some of those are a little bit endangered, is that correct?
They're all endangered. We've got lots of adults, but the babies are just not getting to the water because the nests are predated.
And you've joined a special project to try and look after these turtles?
Correct. The 1 Million Turtle Project is a national citizen-based program where we're asked to look for turtles, protect their nests and record the predated nests. It's very hard to find them, but from the predation point of view, last year we had 253 nests predated.
Now Annie, we're out on one of the islands, for want of a better word, out in your sanctuary area, and this is an area of hot predation. It's a big problem for you at the moment, isn't it?
It is. These 3 have occurred over the last 3 weeks, but all the green tapes all around are all predated nests, probably about 21 to date, I think.
Just in this area?
Just on Birdhide Island.
So Annie, what do you think is the biggest cause of the predation on this island?
Definitely the biggest cause is foxes. They did 253 nests last year.
What sort of fences or management do you have around this site?
We don't have good fences at all. There's a little bit at the entrance. Apart from that, we don't have any other fences. So
the foxes are free to come and go, and that was causing you a lot of grief with your turtle project.
Yes.
So what did you do about that?
Well, we tried baiting. We do get a shooter out as well. We try to get people out here to protect the nests, but the next step is to get a fence.
And so you found a solution within ag that's the latest tech in fencing, and it seems to be having an impact. Can we go and have a look at that?
Sure.
You got some beautiful country here, Annie.
Beautiful gully, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. And we're going to see something pretty special in terms of turtle preservation, aren't we?
We sure hope so.
So Annie, something had to change, didn't it? I mean, you were having huge problems with foxes, so you and your fellow volunteers were lucky enough to get a Gallagher land care grant last year.
That's right.
And what's that enabled you to do?
It meant that we could make an enclosure, and an enclosure takes about 65 metres of the riverfront and then goes back 50 metres. So we've got this nice area where turtles can breed quite safely.
You've invested the money that you got in the land care grant with a Gallagher sanctuary fence, and this is a fence that keeps exotic predators out but doesn't harm native species.
That's right.
But the story's not over for these little turtles yet, is it?
No, it isn't.
So we've kept the foxes out.
Yes.
We've kept all of the exotics out, even the rabbits. you've now got a problem with lizards and echidnas.
Yes, we came and found some predated nests along the fence line here, but it can be anywhere.
Yeah.
And we put a camera on, and when I took it home and had a look, I had a lovely echidna.
Burrowing
On 3
there.
nights. 3 nights it was footage of the echidna. So it appears that
So
the
echidnas
echidna...
lay eggs themselves, and they're eating the eggs of another species. How rude.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes, yeah. So I am contacting some wildlife people, and we're going to have to work this through a little bit.
But the good news is the exotic predators like the fox, they eat every single egg because they've got a
Every
high
egg.
body weight.
Yep.
Whereas the native predators are a little bit less efficient. They thin the eggs, but they don't eat them all.
That's right. And so then we can come and check the nest, and that's what happened in this one here, right
Yep.
behind you. We found 1 egg.
And so now you've protected that further.
Yeah, put mesh on it and put the pegs on it, and we've been putting a camera on it as well, just to see what's happening.
How many little baby turtles do you think you're going to be returning to the Murray every year as a result of this small fenced-off area?
I'm guessing we might get 50 turtles nesting here, and if we can get them not to be predated, that you're looking 50 by 20 to 30. So you're looking at 1,000.
1,000 little turtles going
Yep.
back into the Murray River every year as a result of this Gallagher land care grant.
Yes.
And as a result of smart fencing tech that's been taken from agriculture and farming and applied to the environment. Roger, how are you, mate?
How you going? Yeah, Tim.
Lovely to meet you, mate. Now, you've got a fairly extensive background in ag, and it was your job to set up the engine behind this fence.
That's right,
You've
yes.
set up the solar generator,
Yes.
panels and
Yeah,
battery.
batteries, yes. Yep.
Now, your background is in agriculture,
Yes, agricultural science, yes.
and you're currently the chair of the Pasture Board of South Australia,
Yes, that's one job, yeah.
and
job
you
I
used
do.
to oversee the dingo fence.
Yeah, but yes, back in the time.
So you got the complicated job of setting up these solar panels, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
So how tricky is it to set up solar panels for an electric conservation fence?
It's pretty easy if you know, been dealing in solar panels. I've been mucking around on caravans and on my boat for
Yep.
quite a few years. And it was really, the issue was to get the right angle on these.
So you went into first principles and did
Yes.
a number of different calculations,
Yes, I
believe.
did, yeah, and worked out what you should do at what altitude and latitude, or what latitude, and came up with the angle
Yep.
and set it all up.
Yes.
And then my mate was here helping me, Gary, said, oh, there's a bloody, it tells you actually on the Gallagher thing what angle to put it at for this area. So
Bloody Gary.
yeah,
If only he'd
I
told you
know,
that
if
a
he
day
told me
earlier.
beforehand, I'd been looking, I would have seen it, wouldn't I?
The moral of the story is they're incredibly easy to set up. You don't
Yeah.
have to go into first principles. You don't have to
No,
do calculations
no.
and everything.
That's right.
You've just got to listen to Gary and look at the label.
Well, you've got to look at the label, yeah.
Now, can you take me through how you've set up your energiser and your batteries? Because you've done it in a really clever way that's going to preserve not only the energiser and the batteries, but also make it safe.
Yes, well, we hunted around for an old fridge. We used to use that on the dog fence because you couldn't have all the energisers getting too hot. And also we got rain and wind and that down here. I've put vents in it because hydrogen's got a deep cycle battery in the bottom.
Yep.
And they produce hydrogen, so you've got to make sure that the whole thing is vented. But it keeps everything cool and it's easy to access. You can just open the door. There's all the gear.
Cool, dry, free of
Correct.
hydrogen,
Yes,
long life battery,
long life battery, yeah.
long life fence.
Yep, yes. So this is generating nearly 6.8 kVA at the moment on the fence, so it's working really well.
And have you had any dramas or any maintenance issues with the fence so far?
No, not yet, no.
They're pretty resilient
Yeah,
little
it's
objects.
losing about 1 amp in this whole fence, which is pretty low really. But we've got sort of stakes out in the water, so it could be leaking a
so
bit
you've got
down
good
there.
earthing. Yeah. So Gary, you had the job of actually building the fence because you're a farmer by background.
That's right.
So you got stuck with that job, but you
Yeah.
got to play with some pretty ingenuitive stuff.
This fencing material was something I've never worked with before.
Yep.
I've done a lot of electric fencing on my farm, but this stuff is new to me.
How easy was it to pick up?
Yeah, very easy. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
very easy and pretty straightforward. I mean, the basics of electric fence is here. We just have to do a few things different to keep foxes out and turtles in.
And those few things include a standoff at the bottom of the fence where
That's
you're
right.
running 4 wires, too hot, too cold.
Yep.
You're also using some poultry mesh on the inside of the fence to prevent lizards, echidnas and turtles from coming into contact with the electric wires.
That's right, yes.
And you're running 10 wires in total, is that correct?
Yes.
So this unit's powered by a 1000i, which is giving you way more juice than you need, which is good. But one of the issues that you had to overcome quite ingeniously was actually getting the fence out over water, and you've been able to do that as well.
Yes. In our business, farming business, we use 1,000-litre shuttles for water and all that sort of stuff. If you fill them up with air and float them on the water, they can, you can hook an electric fence into them. And then you just fill another one up next to it with water, and that's your anchor.
So you're using 2 shuttles, one full of water, one full of air.
Yep.
And that's the anchor point for your electric fence.
That's right.
Well, Annie, what an amazing story about a group of volunteers who purchased and rehabilitated some old farming land, and in quick, smart fashion, within just a few years, you've had some really amazing and impressive results.
Yes.
And you're using the very best tech from the agricultural sector to help the environment in your Gallagher Land Care grant and sanctuary fence.
Yes, it's been great to be able to get that grant and to start this project with the turtles.
So you've got some plans for even more upgrades to this little turtle hatchery area once it's fully proven, and that involves some sand, I believe.
Well, we'd like to get more data on when turtles come in and when hatchlings go out. So we're going to put a strip of sand and we're going to rake it, and then we'll each week take recordings of what movement there has been.
So that should help you with your counts and also with tracking where the nests are.
Exactly.
And where to look.
Yep.
Well, amazing results, and I'm sure that you'll continue to go from strength to strength because you've got a vibrant and positive committee working on this, and you've got some fantastic knowledge in the background, haven't you?
Thank you, yes.
All the best, Annie. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much for having us out today.
No problem.
Guys, if you like this kind of content, don't forget, hit the little subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. There's plenty more on timthompson.ag, and I'm putting a link to the sanctuary in the description if you want to find out more.